Good morning, everybody. We'll call to order our September 19th regular meeting of the Mason County Board of Commissioners. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. If Mr. Reese, if you please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if the clerk would please take the roll.
Commissioner, District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner, District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner, District 3, Terry Drexler.
Here.
Thank you. Number 4, correspondence and organizational business. If the clerk would please report the correspondence.
John Bonin sent his resignation for the Mason County Housing Authority Board, and the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board sent an application for El Sombrero at 23969 Northeast State Route 3 in Belfair.
Okay, thank you. Item number 5 is our open forum for citizen input. If there's a member of the public that would like to come forward and address the commission on items that are not on today's agenda, please do so now. If you come to the podium, the chair will recognize you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Cheryl Williams, 309 West G Street. Today is the first of many League of Women Voters meetings. This year the theme is money. Last year it was public health. Today it's money, or this year it's money, and we're going to be talking today about the hospitals and how rural hospitals can compete against larger hospitals. So the meeting is from 12 to 1:30 at the Olympic College Library today, and I hope to see you guys there. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to item number 6, which is adoption of our agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt today's agenda as presented. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item number 7, we have approval of minutes. We have August 22nd, 2017, regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of those minutes as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item number 8 is the approval of our action agenda this morning. Commissioners will read through the items on today's action agenda, at which time a member of the public or a commissioner can have a item removed for a separate discussion and vote. I will take items 8.1 through 8.4. Commissioner Netherland would do 8.5 through 8.7, and then Commissioner Drexler 8.8 through 8.10. Item 8.1, approval to authorize Public Works to procure sweeper equipment for an estimated cost of $65,000. Item 8.2, approval to authorize Public Works to advertise, set bid opening date and time, award contract, and allow chair to sign all pertinent documents for call for bids to furnish Mason County with asphalt emulsion for 2018. Contract awards will be announced during a regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Item 8.3, approval to authorize Public Works to advertise, set bid opening date and time, award contract, and allow chair to sign all pertinent documents for the 2018 manufacturing and stockpiling of chip seal aggregate. Contract awards will be announced during a regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Item 8.4, approval to authorize the Deputy Director of Utilities and Waste Management to execute an agreement with Parametrics in the amount of $88,894.04 to complete testing and analysis needed for ecology to determine whether termination of post-closure activities at the Ills Hill landfill is warranted.
Mr. Chairman, item number 8.5 reads, approval to appoint Ida May Severe to the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging for a term ending September 2019. Item number 8.6 reads, approval to appoint John Bolander to the Mason County Housing Authority Board for a term that ends in September 2022. Item 8.7, approval of the renewal contract with Pacific Security for armed and unarmed weapons screening for the courthouses and campus security patrol from September 1st, 2017 through August 31st, 2019.
Item 8.8, approval of the warrants. We have claims clearing fund warrants numbers 8050134 through 8051215 totaling $1,282,643.06. Direct deposit fund warrants 43800 through 44183 totaling $621,911.11. And then the salary clearing fund warrants 7003040 through 7003081 totaling $923,867.94 for a grand total of $2,828,422.11. Item 8.9, approval to transfer $65,000 from salaries and benefits to operating expense within the public defense budget. Finally, item 8.10, approval of a letter of support from Mason County to Mason Transit Authority regarding Log Yard Road and SR3 intersection improvements.
Okay, very good, thank you. So at this time, is there a member of the public or a commissioner that would like to have an item removed for a separate discussion and vote? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of the action agenda as presented.
And I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the action agenda as presented. Is there any additional discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to just point out that item 1.0 is kind of an intriguing issue in that the Mason Transit Authority is building a park and ride off of SR3 on Log Yard Road. And the engineering and traffic analysis has determined that there probably will need to be some sort of stoplight, some sort of ingress-egress safety measure put there, and this could very possibly be the first roundabout in Mason County, which I think is kind of funny, on SR3. So I just wanted to point that out. There will be public discussion, a lot more analysis around what will that traffic mitigation measure be, but given the potential growth in the area, that one that seems to be rising to the top as being the most likely facility that'll be put in.
Thank you. Any additional comment? I just want to thank Ida Severe and John Bollender for stepping forward to be willing to serve on those respective committees of the Area Agency on Aging and then the Housing Authority Board. We say time and time again from up here how important volunteers are to making the county work and making the county work well, and so I'm very appreciative of them stepping forward to serve the county in this capacity, and look forward to them doing a lot of good work on our behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing no additional discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Okay, takes us to item number 9, which is other business. It's an opportunity for department heads and electeds to come forward and address the commission. Any department heads or electeds? Okay. We will move past item 10 since it is not yet 9:30. We won't begin our public hearing until 9:30. And so we'll move to item number 11, which is our board reports and calendar. I will have Commissioner Netherland start, followed by Commissioner Drexler, and then I'll finish.
Quickly attended the Housing Authority Coalition after our last meeting, PTSA meeting. We had the opioid stakeholder meeting, which is very appreciative for up there in the North Mason area. We've done a lot down here. Now it's time to move it up north with some of the things. And now that we have Peninsula, we have the ability to actually enact some of the same things we're doing down here. The ARC has just, I attended an ARC meeting, and the good news is the state ARC has finally and officially recognized Mason County as part of the new branch of the ARC. EDC meeting, Bill Moyer, a great hero for North Mason, could never have saved the Theller Community Center if it had not been for him when we were left with from 13 employees down to one 76-year-old lady working 10 hours a week. He stepped forward to take care of all the grounds, everything, and made everything work, and he passed away and attended his celebration of life. The cornhole event, which is for the fire department's basically a fund for the Benevolent Firefighters Association. It was very well attended. It was huge and it was very enjoyable. Then brings us back to our briefings. After this, we have a meeting of the elected officials, a Mason Transit Authority meeting. The North Mason Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors meeting this week, EDC Business Network being held up in Allen, an ABC meeting in Belfair, Archambault, another local resident who is a great man. And I always say the funerals that I'm attending, just in case you guys also know them and are going to be there also, but I will be attending that. That brings us also to our briefings. North Mason Community Voice. Mason Transit Authority is having another meeting to talk about the board configuration, and then a Board of Health meeting before bringing us back to our next Tuesday's meeting.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner?
So last week, following our commission meeting, I did attend a audit entrance conference for the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging. Wednesday, we had the monthly meeting of the Olympic Region Clean Air Authority, and of course, we all waited, are very excited, not excited, but wanted to hear very much what all the forest fires we've had in the area and the wildfires, what that effect has been on our air quality. And it was interesting in that the Shelton Mason County area saw 4 days of unhealthy, but we didn't get into the very unhealthy. They added a new category. It's gotten so bad. So many of the measurement instruments are at a lower elevation, and so much of the smoke from those fires was at a higher elevation. They weren't registering, so they're not convinced that there was a real accurate reading. But the most unhealthy air actually ended up being in our most remote measurement spot, a place called Chica Peak, out near the Forks area. And of course that was because of both its elevation and its proximity to the British Columbia fires. We'll have reports from the Oregon fire at the end of this month. But if anybody is interested in the air quality, the Olympic Region Clean Air Authority has just an ongoing air quality data on their website. So you're more than welcome to go take a look there just for an idea about how the forest fires are affecting us, but even further when we get into the winter season, as people use more and more wood stoves, you'll see also some of the effects it has on our air quality. But we are within attainment still of the EPA's benchmarks. On Thursday, the 14th, I had a meeting of the Cascade Pacific Action Alliance, and this is our accountable community of health for the 7-county region, west and south of the state. And they are putting together planning for what's called Medicaid transformation projects, and there's probably a large list of projects that as the planning goes along they might reduce down, but these are designed to reduce the amount of purchasing of health care as well as creating a healthier community. These monies are coming from the Medicaid community, so we've had some discussions about is this a region-wide health planning, or is this strictly for folks that happen to be on Medicaid, which kind of gives a question of, ironically, the question of health equity, and which was a topic on that discussion for that day. I had a meeting of the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization, and we have, I think, what is the final designs for the Mental Health Triage Evaluation and Treatment Center, which is going to be located at the old PUD 3 building in Coda. When we originally put in for the application and the grant to build that facility, the intention was that we would have a 10-bed facility, and it looks like we're going to be able to do a 12-bed facility. So it's just another expansion of more mental health and substance abuse services here in Mason County, which is very much needed. And then on Friday the 15th, there was a special meeting of the House of Representatives Health Care and Wellness Committee. They kind of did a road trip along the peninsula and made a stop at the Mason General Hospital, and had a good representation of the committee. I was pretty delighted about it, and they were basically peppering questions about what are we doing about the opioid issues here, because of course that's on the radar of so many folks, including the Medicaid transformation. It's a required project to do that for the accountable community of health. And we were able to report out what we were doing at the Behavioral Health Organization to expand treatment services here in Mason County, but also the efforts of Dr. Yu and both the North and South Mason County regarding the opioid forums for education more than anything, and then what can we be doing. There's so many different parties doing their own separate efforts, how we can come together with that. They also had a lot of questions about there's a new payment system that I think it's called
value payment, something like that. Value-based purchasing of healthcare services, and how would that work? And it was interesting to hear the Mason General Hospital's efforts towards this at this point. They're as always, they're a very innovative hospital, and they've been awarded as such by the Association of Hospitals, but they're a very innovative organization, which you'd have to be anymore to be a rural healthcare agency. We had our briefings yesterday, and then we'll have, following today's meeting, we have an executive session. We have a meeting of all the elected officials and directors in the county to talk about the 2018 budget and some of our constraints and how we're going to try to meet those as a group, as a team of the entire county. Tomorrow, I'm still trying to decide if I can drive all the way to Forks for a Olympic Peninsula regional meeting for distribution of monies that come from the feds on in lieu of timber sales for preservation and retrofitting some of the effects of logging in the Olympic Mountains. But then I'm traveling to Walla Walla for a Transportation Improvement Board meeting on Thursday, and then Friday I'll be in Ellensburg for a Washington State Association of Counties board meeting, and I'll probably stay for the Legislative Steering Committee, which I believe you may be calling in on. And then we're back for briefings on Monday.
Very good. Thank you. So last week, a couple of highlights. I did attend the opioid meeting in North Mason. Commissioner Netherland was there, and I think a very productive conversation with some community leaders up there about what they're seeing, kind of the boots on the ground view of the crisis that we have here in Mason County, and frankly that is across the state and nation as well. And so I think we'll be seeing some more information come out here in the next couple of weeks about a forum for the broader community in North Mason later this fall. And I know that we're all very excited about using all those resources to try and tackle this issue. I also met last week with James Thomas, who's the president of the chair of the board for the EDC, and they're having some staffing changes over at the EDC, and so we had a chance to discuss some of his thoughts for the future of the EDC and some things that he might be wanting to pursue for Mason County. And so I walked away from that meeting very encouraged that the board is committed to seeing Mason County grow in a sustainable way, in a very healthy way for the county, and improving the economy for everybody. So walked away from that, and I hope, and I'll sure Commissioner Netherland, you'll extend an invitation, but I will as well for him to come down as the previous director of the EDC would, and just kind of talk about some of their happenings and some of the projects that they're working on. So I look forward to hearing more. As you heard, I'll also be at the elected officials meeting this afternoon and the Mason Transit meeting. Tomorrow, Criminal Justice Working Team will meet, as well as we have some budget workshops beginning tomorrow morning. Also meeting with Tacoma Power, talk about some issues out up in the Cushman area. And then I have the Hood Canal Coordinating Council meeting, which will be out at the new tribal center at the Skokomish tribe. So I'm excited to get out there and take a look at their new facility. I know if any of you have passed that area going up 101 north, it's just a beautiful building on the outside, and so I'm excited to get in there and see the inside, and congratulate them on a great project coming to completion there. Also later this week, I'll be attending the Shelton Mason Chamber of Commerce lunch and presenting on behalf of the county, the state of the county. They're doing the city and the port as well that day, so looking forward to that. And then the Association of Counties Legislative Steering Committee in the afternoon. I'll be calling into that meeting from here. I won't be out in Ellensburg, but I will be attending via phone, and come back on Monday for briefings and Tuesday for our morning meeting.
Mr. Chair, I left something off, and I realized by looking out here in the audience. Last Sunday, our staff actually came out their Sunday and went to a regional homeowners association meeting. They asked that we please, they're dealing with all kinds of issues in every residential area you can imagine, of course. And they asked if we would bring forward some staff or somebody to talk to them. And our director and our manager of planning both showed up on a Sunday, spent 2 hours with them, and went over all the different questions that they may have and explain to them the different rules that we have, that we can augment their rules and help them to get things done. Most people know they have a lot more authority to get things done internally than we may, and they're all learning how to work with each other. But it was very impressive, and I was very proud of our staff. When we ended up walking out of there, they were very proud of our staff as well. And we need to give them an extra thank you for making the time on a Sunday to do that and spend all that time with those folks. They stayed until there was no more, basically had to pry them out of there. But again, I was proud of them and want to thank you for attending that as well. So by the way, I was there too, obviously.
Very good. Yeah, thank you for
Thank
making
you.
that. Okay, well, we still have a few minutes to go before our public hearing, so at this time, I'm going to call for a break and have us all return at 9:30 to begin our public hearing on the Shoreline Master Program. We'll see you back at 9:30. Okay, well, we'll come back in here and begin with our public hearing at 9:30. We have a public hearing to approve adoption of the updated Shoreline Master Program and accompanying Shoreline Environmental Designations Map, Resource Ordinance, and Development Code Title 15, which repeals and replaces the current versions, and I would ask staff to please brief.
Good morning. I'm Kel Rowan from Mason County Planning Department. I'm very pleased to be here this morning to present to you the final adopted Shoreline Master Program. Mason County spent the last over 6 years updating the Shoreline Master Program in conjunction with updating their Resource Ordinance and Title 15. And in the last 9 months, we went from the board adopting a resolution with the intent to adopt the plan, and then we went through a formal process with the Department of Ecology, including a submittal of all of our documents that we had produced and updated the plans. Ecology checked for the submittal being complete and then went out for another comment period. That was a 30-day comment period, which was extended, so it was a little bit longer than that. We received several comments. Staff, both from Mason County and Ecology, worked through all of the comments that we received from both individuals and state and federal agencies, and we addressed all of those comments that we, of course, brought to the board as well, of how we addressed those and how we were going to make some minor amendments to the adopted Shoreline Master Program and critical areas. And then the Department of Ecology sent the county a list of recommended changes and a list of required changes. And the county looked, there were 2 required changes which we made. And of the recommended changes, of the 31 recommended changes, we accepted 29 of them, and 2 of them, one we rejected just because we don't have the guidance, and the Shoreline Management Act does not require that language, and so it was regarding sea level rise, and we struck that at this time. And then the other was just a simple restructuring of a sentence to provide clarity. Since then, we have received the formal approval letter from the Department of Ecology stating that Mason County has updated their master program in accordance with the Management Act, and we are very pleased to be here this morning to present that to you today for final approval. And I do want to emphasize that we, along the whole time, over the last 6 years, we worked with our resource ordinance, updating that as well, both with the current guidance, and so that the master program and the resource ordinance are work together and not conflict in any way.
Great, very good, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for staff? No? Any questions for staff? Okay, very good. Hearing no questions, I will then open the public comment period. If you'd like to make comment on the Shoreline Master Program update, please come forward to the podium, state your name, and the chair will recognize you.
Good morning, Jim Reese, Mason Lake. Been here a few times. It's been a long trip since like 2010. lots of meetings, Department of Ecology in Olympia. Lots of things were accomplished. We no longer have to have maximum of 4-foot width docks and usable staircases and multiple items in a single parcel and variety of dock ends and grandfathering. So lots of things were accomplished, which is really great. There's some things that are not, that I don't understand, and some logic. The 8-foot maximum width for floats and the 6-foot for piles. I know it's all done and so on, but those are just something that doesn't seem logical to me. A common setback for docks when you're constructing them, there may be clauses that allow that to happen, but if you have 2 long docks and a short dock going in between them, there should be some provisions to make them similar. Lift fees, ended up after lots of meetings that lifts seem to be an environmentally friendly item, and yet the fees seem to be very high. And that's outside of SMP, I understand that. I know I had an opportunity to buy a used lift for $750, came in to get a permit, and it was $1,017, $1,015 to get a permit. So other reasons involved too, but I didn't proceed with that. There should be some little better provisions for overtopping of bulkheads. And of course, the favorite subject, large man-made waves. I know that that's not SMP, but the repair of damage should be helped. I don't know when this will go into effect, so I guess you'll decide that shortly. Thank you for listening anyway, and thank you for all the time over the last 6 years, 7 years.
Mr. Chair, if I may for a second, we need to also thank Jim, because Jim was on the planning commission for many years, doing a lot of work to get us where we're at now. And I don't want that to be lost. He's also been working as a citizen again afterwards, but he spent many years there. I served with him, and he did all his homework every time, guaranteed.
Chair, I'd like to thank Jim too. Jim, you brought your involvement level. Your level of involvement was inspiring, and it was very very much trying to get to a solution, and I very much appreciate that as well. And I always admire citizens that will stick with something that's this tough and this hard, especially when you're not always getting everything you'd hoped for. So thank you so much for your efforts.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Any other comments? Tim?
You know I had to say something. I'm Tim Gates with Department of Ecology. I want to thank the commissioners for their leadership in this. I know these are hard decisions. Shoreline management is very important to a place like Mason County, which is so dependent on water-dependent uses. Really, the Shoreline Act was built for places like this, because the Shoreline Act asks us to think about how we want our shorelines to look. How do we plan for and foster all reasonable, appropriate uses is the policy of our state. And at the same time, we want to protect the environment. And I just want to say, you know, Jim is one of many people who took time out from their families, from watching Netflix, or whatever else they want, you know, they could be doing. They were here in this room talking about tough, challenging issues. And the master program is stronger for that community involvement. So just want to thank people, because I think it's often kind of taken for granted that these are the result of a community conversation. And you know, you're asking yourselves, what do you want your community to look like? There's a state overlay, which is very important, and the statute calls out for looking out for the statewide interest, but it's always flavored by local interest. So I don't know, it was really one of the highlights of my career, really coming out here, developing this program with the community. So I don't know, it really is just the beginning, though. That's the thing, that, you know, when you come to the end of these regulatory processes, then you kind of start with the hard part. It seems hard when you're doing the developing it, but as we implement it, I guess the thing I would try to leave you with is the kind of cooperative spirit that it took to develop this master program. We should keep that spirit alive as we implement it. When we find problems with this, which we certainly will, this was created by humans and therefore it is imperfect, and our process was not perfect and we missed stuff, we should be paying attention to the community voices and trying to make sure we're focusing on the interests that we have in common to develop our shorelines in a way that's sustainable. I know that's important. You know, you hear it from everybody. You hear it from everybody. When you break apart the particular sort of positions people have, when it comes right down to it, we have a tremendous amount in common about how we want to grow our state and our communities. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Also, again, I was serving on there when you were first coming in there, and a lot of things that are automatically assumed, and usually rightfully so, though, is that the state is at an adversarial role and are doing anything that they can to stop the allowed uses on people's properties in order to get to their achieved goal. But both of you have proven that, at least in this case, that was not accurate. Other counties may have faced that, but you guys actually were a moving force in helping us to get to all of our allowed uses. You've actually helped us to lessen some restrictions in order to have development and use of the lands and keeping the value in their lands, where other counties did not run into that. As somebody who was representing the counties at the time when I first came in, I found that everywhere, and then I come home thinking I'm going to be mad at you guys, but it was the opposite. You kept delivering, and you helped to protect my community and my property owners, and I just want to tell you again, I very much appreciate that. And I don't think it's the norm still, but you guys sure showed that it can be done, and I enjoyed working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one other thing, you guys have have adopted as part of this action an update to your critical area ordinance, and Kel mentioned that. You're killing two birds with one stone here. This is actually another thing that's unusual about this Mason County update process. The Planning Commission, on its own, their own discretion, decided to take on updating the critical area ordinance to clarify it, to meet your GMA obligation, to catch up with the latest science. And so this action that you're taking today amends your critical area ordinance for consistent with that state mandate, as well as the Shoreline Management Act requirement that you adopt a plan consistent with the Shoreline Act. So that's actually a big lift. These are challenges for communities as separate things, and you did them together, and I think in a way that is actually kind of a model for other communities. I mean, shopping around to others and trying to encourage this kind of approach. So how about that? Mason County's getting props for being an innovator in shoreline management.
There's your headline.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public comment portion and entertain commission discussion and a motion.
Well, I think there's a tremendous amount of thanks still to go out there. Tim, Mr. Gates, I do want to thank you for helping keep the ideas alive, but within the scope of the state laws. I know that's difficult, and Mr. Mraz, you did that as well. Mr. Mraz, I want to thank you very much for your work on the findings of inclusion and on the comment. You found areas that we didn't quite identify that were inconsistent, and those are those things you have to keep going back to fix when you find them later on. And I just really appreciated your in-depth review to catch those for us, to save us from coming back here on some of these later on, and just the level of involvement that both of you had there. I think that anytime a regulatory agency is in these meetings, there's a certain sense of nervousness, but you created a partnership, which was really important. I'm really proud of this plan because it does a couple things I'd really hoped to see happen, and so it kind of, I don't have to use the pen here, and ask for some revisions. One of the things I'm very, very, very happy about is the flexibility the aquaculture industry was given through this plan to meet changing markets and changing market demands. I know that was a bone of contention for some folks, but I appreciated the fact that we were able to prevail through there. And then I also appreciate the fact that this plan does very pointedly address more water-oriented uses and not just the water-dependent. I feel like the previous plan was kind of myopic on the fact that if it wasn't water-dependent, we couldn't think about that. But when you expand the scope of thinking, how do people access water? It's not always in a pair of flip-flops on the beach. Sometimes it's sitting on a deck at a restaurant. In an urban area, and we do have to acknowledge there's many different ways that the public accesses water beyond just the recreational side that we think of in a bathing suit or something, or a fishing pole. Those were two of my major hopes for this plan, and I think that we achieved them wonderfully within the scope of the state law. So thank you, everybody, for that.
Thank you.
Again, I'm going to start by thanking Mr. Mraz and Mr. Gates. I was not a commissioner when I started through this process yet, but I remember being shocked with how some of it was going. There was a citizen group, and then a technical group, and then it's supposed to start going to the planning commission with 3 legs to help put this thing together. And an odd thing had occurred. You had the citizen group put all these things, created this huge document, added so many new things that it was crazy. The technical group did the same thing. And then, when they both got together and it all fell together, they both looked at it and go, where'd all this other stuff come from? I don't know if you remember all that. And everybody was in shock, going, oh no, what are we going to do? And it was at that point that I knew we were going to be having a battle with the state. At least I thought we were, because we were doing something, if you remember, Commissioner, we were faced with coming down hard on it, and we were trying to go back and have the Planning Commission strictly take everything out that wasn't required by law. Now imagine taking a huge document and start doing all that, and we thought instead that we would have huge pushback, and we were prepared to fight. But instead, Mr. Mraz and Mr. Gates stood up and started teaching us, this is required and this is not required. This is required and this is not required. And even though it took years to do this, because it had grown to such a huge magnitude, I don't know that we would have gotten anywhere near what we did even the years we did if it hadn't been for you helping to educate us on, this is required by law, this is not. You can expand it this way, we can help you to get here if you do this. So a lot of great thank yous to you, because you really helped keep our property values up, because there was even at one point the idea of, in one of the proposals, that anything that was on water was considered non-conforming. Can you imagine, for any of you, most of you have nothing to do with real estate, you know what that means when you go to get a loan, or you go to sell your property or anything else? Imagine what that would have done to this county. But again, instead of fighting us on it, they helped us to get around that and show where we could, where we couldn't. And even before this meeting started, we have a citizen in the back who I hope we'll be dealing with shortly. Literally, I felt like I could reach over and call on them to help us to fix her problem. And they're going to explain to us how we can get to it and fix it maybe in the next year, or explain to them why it is what it is. But either way, that's kind of interesting when we're calling on you to help us with our own citizens, because we know you're going to take care of them. That shows some respect. The Planning Commission, years of hard work. Jim, years of hard work. Some of the others, you also. It was not like they had signed on for. They signed on for 1 meeting a month, 2 hours. They turned into 4 or 5 hour meetings 2, 3 times a month. We lost several people because they just couldn't keep up. And I don't blame them. We were asking way too much of them in order to get where we had to go. But the Planning Commission and everybody that served on it deserves an incredible pat on the back, because they got done an incredible feat, like I said, that seemed insurmountable when you looked at how it was done when they were all put together. So again, thank you to all of them. And I look forward to us finding out for the citizen that in the back that did not testify tonight. She found out her property is designated in a manner that she's not clear on. She don't know for sure whether it's going to be beneficial to her or not, and if it's not, what we can do to fix it. And automatically the state and our staff has already started talking to them and working with them. And by the end of this meeting, I hope that we will meet with you also to help set up whatever you need to have it explained to you better. And I appreciate you coming in today and stuff. And again, I appreciate the staff. But I will be voting in favor of this because of all the hard work everybody's put in to make sure that our people were protected in this effort, and I'm proud of them.
Thank you. Tim, Rick, do you have champagne? Ready to pop the cork? When we were on break waiting for the 9:30 to roll around so we could begin this public hearing, Melissa, who clerked the Planning Commission for a number of years and was the clerk on it while I was on the Planning Commission, we were kind of reminiscing about just the stack of documents that she gave me when I was appointed to the Planning Commission. And I thought, oh boy. And when the Planning Commission moved the SMP onto the commission here to consider it, and then moving on to ecology, I thought, well, I'm glad to be done with that. Well, here we are. So I am so grateful for all the work that ecology staff has put into this, county staff has put into this, and in particular the citizen planners that have worked for years and years and have put in thousands and thousands of hours of their own time to make this a policy that we can more than live with, policy that we can grow with. And so I'm very grateful for all of their work and their efforts. And you know, the nice thing about planning is that it's a continual process. And so we will gladly, I think, vote this out today and approve it. And as we continue to go along, we'll continue to find ways to tweak it and make it more Mason County, give it that local flavor that Tim was talking about. But I do think that we have a document here that will help us meet our needs and protect the shoreline that we all are so grateful to live around and that we definitely appreciate. And so I'm very, very grateful for everybody's effort. Cal, I appreciate your sticking it with us and you know, going through all the revisions and bringing back comment from the different stakeholders, and just very excited to pass this on today, and look forward to continuing a collaborative effort with ecology and the citizens of Mason County to continue to improve this document. So,
Mr. Chair,
sure.
I would move that the Board of County Commissioners approve the adoption of the updated Shoreline Master Program and accompanying Shoreline Environmental Designations Map, Resource Ordinance and Development Code, Title 15, which repeals and replaces the current versions.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded that to adopt the updated Shoreline Master Program and accompanying Shoreline Environmental Designations Map, Resource Ordinance and Development Code, Title 15, which repeals and replaces the current versions. Any additional discussion?
One last thing, we held on even to the last second, and those little red lines, we looked over every one of them like they were. And I think even the one we did actually strike out, I think it was just so we could say, well, we stood up.
No. There was a reason.
It wasn't much, I'm telling you of one, but that's because of the work they did, not
Yeah.
because we didn't.
Yeah.
Not trust them, because we didn't. But you did great.
Well, I'll just share one just kind of brief sort of anecdote from my time on the Planning Commission working on this. It was, we would sit around the table and we would have conversations about the different sections of the document that we were working on that evening, and would sit around and we would say, okay, well, this is, you know, we want to do this, or this is what we want to achieve, this is our goal, and well, can we do this or that? And then we would turn around and there would be Rick. Well, yeah, you can do that, or no, you can't. So it was kind of the, you know, it was kind of sometimes the devil and the angel on the shoulder, public always looking over for guidance there. But just really a fantastic collaborative process between everybody.
When you say some of the changes actually allowed for more usage that they gave at the end, that the red lines that we were looking to get mad about actually allowed for more usage than we had before they had redlined.
Any additional comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Well done. Okay, and with that, we can move to item number 12, which is adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
And I'll second.
We're adjourned. Have a good day, everybody.
Can we please meet with the lady in the back, please, just to make sure she's taken care of?